Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And there has been a lot of frustration among fans as it's been very difficult buying a new PS5. As soon as they go up for sale, they pretty much sell out immediately. Well, the demand is crazy high right now, and it looks like it broke a new record. Yeah, Sony is having some insane success with the PS5, but at the same time, those PS5 restocks might start to look better in 2021, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Also, could Xbox Game Pass really expand even further in 2021? There's a lot of talk right now that they might be adding another big expansion to Xbox Game Pass, which would make the best deal in gaming even better. I mean, it's getting to the point that it's almost unbelievable how good it actually is, so if this turns out to be true, just wow. As usual though, let's go over some of the quick news, starting off with a really strange set of events. So yesterday there were some reports of Banjo Kazooie and Blast Corps coming to the Nintendo Wii U through its virtual console. Yeah, you heard me right, I said the Wii U, which is strange all on its own, and really, this entire story is kind of odd. As you might be aware, Banjo Kazooie and Blast Corps are both Xbox IP. While yes, they did originally launch on the Nintendo 64, they've been Xbox IP since Rare was acquired by Microsoft back in 2002. So to see these pop up on a Nintendo platform all these years later is interesting to say the least. So basically what happened was that yes, both of these games were listed by the official Japanese Nintendo release schedule to release on the Wii U today. Obviously this didn't happen and Nintendo apologized for their mistake. Again though, this is still interesting. Why were two Xbox IP in Nintendo's database at all for the Wii U? Is it possible that Xbox and Nintendo were working together to make something like this happen? They have worked together in the past and even just this year. Xbox has released multiple games for the Nintendo Switch, including Ori and Cuphead. They even worked with Nintendo to bring Banjo-Kazooie over to Smash Bros. So they do have a good working relationship, and maybe they talked about releasing some of Rare's Nintendo 64 games for a modern Nintendo platform. Of course, this is just speculation, and it probably was just a big mistake, but at the same time, I really wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo and Xbox managed to do something like this. There have been rumors of Nintendo doing a Nintendo 64 virtual console, but those are just rumors. If it were to happen though, maybe they could strike a deal with Microsoft to bring some of Rare's games to the Switch. After all, these are some of the best Nintendo 64 games of all time. Rare and Nintendo has a huge amount of history with one another, especially on the Nintendo 64. Again, it was probably just a mistake, but still it's interesting nonetheless. Also, we have the NieR Replicant remaster releasing in just a few short months in April. That's a game that I'm very excited about as I loved NieR Automata, but it looks like fans of NieR may have a lot more to be excited for than just that. That's because the director of NieR, Yoko Taro, and Square Enix producer Yosuke Saito are working on two new games together. Apparently, since NieR Automata released, they continued to talk about what they could work on next, and they ended up deciding on two different games, though Yosuke is kind of regretting one. Using his words, it's very unsettling, and when he first heard about it, he was really against it. Eventually though, Yoko Taro convinced him to go ahead with this game. I have no idea what it is, but I definitely want to know why it's so unsettling. That's the thing though, Yoko Taro creates very intriguing worlds and characters. There's almost a strangeness to his work, but it makes them unique and interesting. And that's why without even really knowing what he's working on, it's going to bring some excitement. Hopefully we hear about them soon, but definitely worth paying attention to if you're a fan of his work. Moving on, another highly anticipated game for 2021 is Psychonauts 2. I actually believe this particular game is not getting near as much attention as it truly deserves. The original Psychonauts to this day is one of the best 3D platformers ever made, hands down. It's a truly great game, and that's why I supported Psychonauts 2 on Fig as soon as they announced it. With that said, it's also coming from the legendary Tim Schafer and Double Fine Studio, which is another very unique developer. It's always hard to tell what they're going to come up with, and that's something exciting about the Xbox acquisition as a whole. They're now going to have the budget to make their dream game come true, and in fact, they've already been upgrading Psychonauts 2 in a major way. Before the acquisition, they had to cut several aspects of the game for budgetary reasons, but with all that extra money from Xbox, they were actually able to go back and add those once again. That's probably one reason it was delayed, but overall it's going to make for a better and more polished game. Beyond Psychonauts 2 though, what will Double Fine work on next with Xbox being the publisher? Well, Tim Schafer in an IGN interview was asked quite a bit about doing remasters of games like Banjo-Kazooie, and he shot those down pretty quick. Yeah, if there is a remake of Banjo, it's not going to be done by Double Fine, which I do think makes sense. They're incredibly creative, and that's why you want to see them work on their own games so they can let their creativity blossom. Nonetheless, he noted that they are going to work on something new after Psychonauts 2. So it sounds like this could be a new IP, and I really want to see what they do now that they're under Microsoft. This could end up being Tim Schafer's most ambitious game yet. My favorite is hands down Psychonauts, but I really want to see if they decide to go bigger with their next game because they have that budget, or are they going to stick with smaller but unique games? Let me know what you would like to see from Double Fine going forward, and what genre would you like to see them work with. Again, it's kind of hard to tell what Double Fine will work on. Let's talk about the PS5 though, and there has been an insane amount of demand for the PS5 since it first launched back in November. They just cannot keep this thing in stock. Of course, some of that is because of scalpers, but there's a legitimate high demand for the PS5 as fans rush out to buy them firsthand or even secondhand, and it really shows. So much so that according to DigiTimes, they've now broken a new record. The PS5 went on to ship 3.4 million units worldwide in its first 4 weeks alone, which is a new record for PlayStation hardware. That is absolutely insane. We're now 6 weeks in, so that means it's sold even more than that. It's very possible that it's already sold around 5 million units as they continue to trickle in more stock. And that's all very impressive and everything, but there are still a lot of people waiting for more stock so they can join in on all the fun as well. And that's the really good news here. According to DigiTimes industry sources, Sony is looking to ship another 16.8 to 18 million units in 2021. Now, it is important to keep in mind this information is not coming from Sony directly, but if true, that could put the total number of PS5s near 23 million if it sold 5 million in 2020. I think that would more than likely meet demand, so hopefully some of these shipments come sooner rather than later. What I find really impressive about this particular launch, though, is how difficult it must have been. They somehow broke a record in a very difficult time in history. While yes, gaming has been on an upward trend this year, the fact that they managed to manufacture that many consoles this year surely had to be very challenging, to say the least. Another thing is that this kind of shows you the reputation that PlayStation has built. I mean, they've been building their reputation for years, and they've become known as being among the best developers in the entire industry, especially with their big AAA single-player experiences. When PlayStation releases one of their big first-party games, whether that be a new IP like Ghost of Tsushima or a sequel like The Last of Us Part 2, fans rush out and buy them. And we're seeing something similar with the PS5. I've said this in the past, but you don't just buy a new console for its day one releases. You're also investing into their future library of games, and clearly, fans trust PlayStation. They're investing into the future God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, and Ratchet & Clank. Based off past history, these will be great games, but even then, when those games launch, you're going to see more fans buy into the PS5. Some fans like to hold off until they can officially play those, and I understand that as well. Either way, big congrats to Sony on their successful PS5 launch. On to our last bit of news though, there's been a pretty big rumor floating around, and it's starting to gain a lot of traction, and I'll kind of explain why. So a few days ago, people were passing around a list of the top 10 biggest Xbox rumors, and one of these included Ubisoft Plus coming to Xbox Game Pass. I originally just brushed this off as no big deal. It didn't really have any sources, and people make up all kinds of things on the internet, so, I mean, you know how it is. Well, that was until today when Jez Corden mentioned it on Twitter and had this to say. I've seen rumors about Ubisoft Uplay Plus joining Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. I think this has a strong chance of being true based on stuff I've heard. Now, he does go on to say, I imagine it would be a vault of smaller slice of older games, but crazier things have happened. I always thought EA Play would be an extra tier of Game Pass, but they just rolled that bad boy right in. Guess we'll see. So this is an interesting development because Jez Corden is often well informed on Xbox related information. I'm not going to say that he's leaking inside information per se, but at the same time, he's one of the more informed Xbox related figures. So I do find this to be very interesting, and Xbox did recently say that they're open to adding more services into Xbox Game Pass beyond just EA Play. That does imply that they would be willing to do this if everything aligns. We also know that Ubisoft is open to the idea of adding their games to services like Xbox Game Pass. They've worked with Google Stadia and Amazon Luna. The thing is, Xbox Game Pass is far more popular than either of those services. I imagine that would be very beneficial for Ubisoft. Let's go back to what Jez Corden said though. He did mention that he imagines it would be a vault or smaller slice of older games, and I think that's the right expectations to go in with. That would still be a huge inclusion for Xbox Game Pass, as Ubisoft has a ton of great games. I mean, if we could get some Assassin's Creed games, Splinter Cell, Watch Dogs, and a game like Immortals Phoenix Rising, that would be massive. What I do know though, is that Xbox Game Pass continuously surprises me. I've never seen a service quite as good as Xbox Game Pass in how it continuously adds in great games. So who knows, if any of this turns out to be true, they might surprise us yet again with Ubisoft Plus. And if they somehow manage to do that, the game industry is going to explode. I tell you, I think every single Xbox owner needs to own Xbox Game Pass. By this point, I think it's a must-have, and it might just get even better, which is crazy to think about. Of course, that's if this rumor turns out to be true, and that still is an if. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.